Hi, I'm Pam, and I'm here to talk about video games. Summer Game Fest, complete with all of the related video game presentations, happened last weekend. I streamed 3 of the presentations over on Twitch with Dylan. If you want to catch those, you can find them at twitch.tv/cannotbetamed. While they're still up, I believe they'll be up for another week or so before Twitch decides to delete them. I saw a lot of really interesting looking games out of the presentations that I did watch, and I picked a handful from each presentation to highlight here. I tried to go with announcements that were new, or at least new to me, and that I haven't talked about in previous videos. So starting with Summer Games Fest itself, I found it to be a sort of underwhelming event, which I think is pretty par for the course. This year it just felt particularly forced with a lot of samey looking games. There were a few big announcements, but also a lot of stuff that really just blended together. This 2-hour presentation included at least 5 or 6 Souls-like games that all looked pretty much the same. They had pretty graphics, they had weird and disturbing monsters that did look impressive for the first trailer or two, but by the time we got to trailer 5 for the same kind of game, I stopped really being able to tell them apart. I know people love Souls-likes, and I guess they're still selling, but yeah, everything here just seemed very, very similar. There were also a lot of competitive or extraction or team-based first-person shooters, which similarly all looked the same. Of course, that's not really a genre that I'm into, so it's hard for me to really judge them. But yeah, it seemed, again, forced. Some guy in a Make First-Person Shooters Great Again hat came out and said, "Fuck Call of Duty, we want more games like Halo," before he talked about his, Portal game, and it wasn't for me. There was also a big chunk in the middle looking at anime action gotcha type games, and it really could have been one game focused on for a long time or 6 different games. I couldn't tell the difference between them. Also, I know I am not at all the audience for these. Also, Jeff Keighley, please stop filleting Hideo Kojima. I know he's a very talented guy. He seems like he's fun to hang out with, but he doesn't need his own segment at every single one of these shows. This one in particular was very boring. He came out to talk about Death Stranding 2, and along with that was a clip that was basically just 2 people talking in an office for 2 minutes. It was very dull. It didn't sell me on the game whatsoever. In fact, it might have further pushed me away from the game, but, Hideo Kojima, yeah, he's great. Stop putting him on stage, please. However, despite the fact that I found the show underwhelming overall, there were a few games announced that I will be keeping my eye on. Ill is an upcoming first-person survival horror by Team Clout. I believe this is their first game, and it is supposed to be a narrative-heavy first-person survival horror, though I couldn't tell you exactly what the narrative is about. There's also no time frame given for when this game is going to be releasing. However, what really stuck out to me about this one was that the enemies look truly frightening. They're just human enough, but they're still horrifying in this weird, twisted way. Plus, at the very end of the trailer, we got to see the protagonist kicking babies, which looks like a lot of fun. This is being developed for PC, Xbox, and PS5. Mio Memories in Orbit is a upcoming Metroidvania that is being developed by 12 Dixièmes, who previously made Shady Part of Me. The art style here is gorgeous. It's very colorful, and at the same time, everything looks like it's hand-penciled in. Movement looks very flowy, and I'm always up for a good Metroidvania. This is set to be released on all systems sometime this year. There is also currently a demo on Steam. Out of Words is a new co-op adventure game about first-time love. I'm always looking for new co-op games to play with my partner, and this one looks very lovingly created. The environments and the characters are all handcrafted and hand-animated, giving you an art style that it looks like you can reach out and touch. This is being developed by Wired Fly and Kong Orange, and it is set to be releasing in 2026 for PC, PS5, and Xbox. Stranger Than Heaven is the newest game by Ryu Ga Gotoku Studio, makers of the Yakuza series. This looks like a very stylish mix of Yakuza and LA Noire. The environments look very much like Yakuza, where you can find a city to explore and get to know, but the whole thing is set against a smoky, jazzy background. However, this isn't the first time we saw this game. It was announced maybe last Summer Game Fest or possibly at the Game Awards as Project Century, and the first trailer had it taking place in a much different time frame, one that honestly didn't interest me as much, so I didn't talk about it. But this one really does interest me, and I have a feeling you're going to be hopping through generations. Everything about this particular trailer was very enticing to me, though we don't have any information yet on release dates or platforms. And the final announcement of the show was Resident Evil 9. Even though not 20 minutes earlier they said we're not ready to announce something, apparently they were. I really loved Resident Evil Village, so I'm definitely looking forward to what 9 has to bring. This one's going to be called Resident Evil Requiem. In this one, you play an FBI agent, more some kind of analyst than a out in the field agent, I believe, and she is investigating a disappearance of a woman in the same hotel that her mother was earlier murdered in. So that is likely to have a lot of psychological horror aspects as well as the outright physical horror aspects. And this game has a release date already. It is set to come out on February 27th, 2026 for Xbox, PC, and PlayStation. Right after Summer Game Fest ended, we had Day of the Devs. This is a showcase put on by Double Fine Games, and it focuses on indies. I have to admit, usually I lose interest in this show around halfway through because it tends to focus on very cozy games. However, this time I really liked it, and there were a lot of things I was quite interested in. This show is just a really good combination of showing the actual gameplay footage and giving their developers a little chance to talk about them. One theme here seemed to be heist games. There were at least 3 different heist games announced during the Day of the Devs, although they all looked quite different in their mechanics and tone. Here are the games that stood out to me. Snap and Grab combines photography with crime, and I like both those things. In this, you play a famous fashion designer who is also a criminal mastermind. You go to rich locales, scout out and photograph what you want to steal, as well as any possible obstacles in your way. Then you use those photographs to plan the heist and you send in your crew. This game is being developed by No Goblin, who also made Roundabout, which is a very silly FMV game about being a driver of a spinning limousine, and I really liked it a lot. This game looks very cool, love the art style and the bright color palette, and it will release for Xbox, PlayStation, and PC in 2026. One of my favorite games from a few years ago was Escape Academy, and I'm very excited that we will be getting a sequel in Escape Academy 2: Back to School. This is obviously an escape room game, with a narrative that brings you from challenge to challenge. You can play this with 2 players, either couch co-op or online. I had a lot of fun with the first game. There was an incredible variety of puzzles, and it's always more fun to play these kind of puzzle games with a friend, although you can also play it solo if you want to. This is being developed by Coin Crew Games, and it's set to come out in 2026. It's announced for PC, but I imagine it will also come to consoles as well. Possessors is being developed by Heart Machine, who previously made the excellent Hyperlight Drifter. This is a 2D action side-scroller that takes place in a large, interconnected world. You need to explore a city that's been hit with an interdimensional catastrophe. The visuals on this are great, and the movement and controls look very fluid. The game also promises a complex narrative filled with characters to get to know. There's no release window yet, but this game is planned for PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. There is also currently a demo on Steam. Please Watch the Artwork is a very strange looking game that highlights the art of Edward Hopper. You're working the night shift at the Museum of Modern Animated Art, and you need to watch all of the artwork for anomalies. These can be things like distortions, possessions, or sad clowns taking over the paintings. This looks like a very cool and surreal take on surveillance and spot the difference games. It is being developed by Thomas Waterzui and likely going to be out around Halloween this year for PC and mobile. Oh, and Switch, I think. Tamed is an adorable game about photography challenges that I really enjoyed a couple years ago, and I'm very excited to see that it will be getting a sequel. And Tamed 2 is taking things 3D. You're setting out on a new adventure to explore new lands, help out friends, uncover hidden things, as well as document the world's little wonders. I really enjoyed Tamed's take on puzzles and finding out exactly what each challenge wanted from me, and it looks like Tamed 2 is going to be adding some platforming in this new perspective. Tamed 2 is being developed by Something We Made and is set to come out in 2026 for PC and consoles. The PC Gaming Show is the last one I watched, and it's a show that I just started watching in the last few years, but I always really enjoy it. They show a lot of different games and sort of pepper it with little skits and interludes that are honestly kind of corny, but also pretty funny. There was a wide variety of games showcased here, but a theme definitely seemed to be factory games. There is a lot of building and organizing being showcased. I really enjoyed the trailer for No, I'm Not a Human, though I'm having a hard time describing why or even describing the trailer. This game describes itself as an anxiety horror about the paranoia of the end of times. You'll frequently hear a knock at your door. It could be a visitor who's out to kill you, or someone looking to help you or wanting help themselves. You need to figure out who's who. The art style in this is very upsetting and weird. The whole game actually looks pretty upsetting and weird. This is being developed by Trio Skaz and is set to come out in Q3 of 2025 for PC. There is also currently a demo available to play on Steam.
In the blink of an eye, the outpost where we hope to find salvation.
Dark Switch is a vertical survival city builder. This game honestly looks a lot like Frostpunk, but in a tree, and I think that's awesome. You need to defend the Great Tree against the fog, all while dealing with limited space and resources and tough moral choices. This game is exactly my jam, and I really enjoy the folk horror vibe. The game will have a campaign as well as a sandbox mode. The game looks really gorgeous, and Akira Yamaoka from the Silent Hill games is on tap to do the music. This game is being developed by Cyber Temple, and there is no date announced yet.
Not an ordinary mist that we knew before, but one that...
Dahlia, I know you're nervous about going home.
Ambrosia Sky looks like a very chill game in a very interesting setting. I'm not usually into games about cleaning things, but put me in a cool space setting, overrun with mushrooms, and you have my attention. You play a deep space disaster specialist in the rings of Saturn. You need to clean up, research the weird mushrooms, lay people to rest, and also upgrade and adapt to survive. This looks both haunting and very cozy at the same time. Plus, it's from a new developer, Soft Rains, right here in Toronto. There's no release date yet, but there is a demo available on Steam. Eyes of Hellfire is a co-op gothic horror game about escaping a curse and surviving in a haunted lodge. You can play this with 2 to 5 players online, and you need to explore, cooperate, evade dangers, and find out how to get rid of your individual curse. You can also betray each other. This reminds me a lot of one of my favorite tabletop games, Escape from House on the Hill. No, Betrayal at House on the Hill. There's too many House on the Hill titles. You need to balance the group goals with your own goals and also build up a deck of actions that makes you most likely to survive. This game is being developed by Gambrinus. There is no release date, but it is coming to early access soon, though I will likely not play it until full release.
And this is the Superhero Dispatch Network. I hope you're ready for your first shift.
Dispatch is a choice-based game that has you managing a group of misfit heroes in a superhero dispatch center. You need to decide which hero to send out on which emergency. But you're not just balancing a roster, you're also dealing with office politics, interpersonal relationships, and you're trying to be a hero yourself. The art and the animation here look really great, like they're right out of a cartoon, and I'm also expecting this one to be quite funny. This is being developed by Ad Hoc Studio, and it's set to release sometime this year, and there is currently a demo available on Steam. And lastly, though I didn't stream it or watch it live, there are a couple games from the Xbox showcase that have captured my attention. Keeper is the latest from Double Fine, makers of Psychonauts. I thought I was misreading the description of this game when it said that you play a lighthouse. Surely it must mean Lighthouse Keeper, but no, you play a mobile lighthouse and you have a seabird pal. This looks like the kind of puzzly third-person adventure that's likely going to be quite charming and touching despite not having any words. I also really love the art style. This is set to come out on October 17th, 2025 on Xbox, PC, and PlayStation.
Centric. You'll see.
Let me welcome you to the Grand, a hotel famous across the land.
And lastly, there are no ghosts at the Grand. Looks like a hotel renovation simulator musical with platforming, ghost hunting, and mystery unraveling. It's honestly one of the more interesting trailers I've seen lately. You've inherited a crumbling old English hotel, and you have 30 days to restore it before something bad happens. You renovate by day and battle ghosts by night. Again, I'm not a huge house reno game fan, but put it in a haunted mansion with a singing staff and a talking cat, and you've got my attention. This looks weird, and I like weird. This is being developed by Friday Sunday, and it's set to come out in 2026 for PC and Xbox. So that was my experience with Summer Game Fest. I actually wrote down and wishlisted a number more games than this, but the video can only be so long. Let me know in the comments if you watched, what you thought of the presentations, and what games in particular stand out to you. If you want to see more, check out a video I made of looking back at most anticipated games from years ago and where they are now, or another of my videos. I have a Patreon if you want to support the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.